checked in on Canvas. If you're new today, we'll cover this stuff after the class. We're going to be continuing Chapter 1 today. I'm also going to be asking you guys, if you're new to the class today, to be checking out the syllabus. Your first assignment class is due this Friday. That's your LinkedIn page. Now, I've seen some friend requests coming in already on LinkedIn, which is awesome. Don't forget, however, to submit your link to the assignment as well. So I'm asking you, whatever your page address is, put that in the assignment, copy and paste it. Because we haven't covered the 5 environments of business yet, we'll probably get to that today or Wednesday. I've actually moved that assignment back to the 27th. So you're welcome. You got an extension on your second assignment already because we're going to cover it in class. Guys, a reminder, you have your first opportunity for extra credit in this class this Wednesday, the 22nd, 6:30 JFK. Mark Avalone, and this guy is a national consultant. He's regularly on CNBC, NPR, and Fox Business. This is a big-name dude who is going to be telling you all about the intersection between politics and business. Guys, if you come to this, you can get CES. If you're a freshman, you need it. You also can get 2 bonus points on test number 1. Just remember to swipe in. So 6:30 JFK, 2 easy points. By the way, guys, before we get into discussion, because I do have some current events discussion, can somebody tell me, how do the worlds of politics and business cross over? What does one have to do with the other? How can politics, laws, and politicians have anything to do with business? What are your thoughts? Yes, sir.
Like different trade laws are going to affect the economy. Obviously, the economy affects business.
You're absolutely correct. Like right now, we have a trade war going on, and that's all something that's happening at a government level. Yes, sir.
Wouldn't have any occurred like regulations on actual businesses?
Yeah, the laws affect how we work. You know, for example, are we going to put heavy restrictions on industry, or tight restrictions, or loose restrictions? And those are philosophical things as well. Sometimes people think the government has too much intervention over business. Some people like more. Is there another way that the government can affect the way people do business? What's another way we can affect? Let me give you a little hint. We talked about the minimum wage in Pennsylvania. What did I say it was right now? $7.25. Who sets the minimum wage? The government in an individual state. So if you're somebody who's trying to appeal to working class people and it's an election year, you may be saying something, for example, like, we're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We're going to have a debate about that at some point this semester too, but that's how government and business cross over. Don't worry about details here, but let's say, for example, in this side of the room, you guys are all business owners. You all own fast food restaurants. Who are you hiring most of the time? Who? I'm sorry? Teenagers. Teenagers are probably older people. What are we paying fast food workers most of the time? Like around minimum wage, right? So let's say, for example, you're used to paying everybody $7.25 an hour, and I'm the government now, and I say you have to pay $15 an hour. How's that going to affect your business?
You're either going to fire people or you're
Exactly right. And the third option is, how many people in recent times have seen touch screens in fast food restaurants for ordering? Automation. Yes, sir. Okay, like we see them at Chick-fil-A now, we see them at McDonald's, we see them everywhere. And what people are saying is, if you're going to raise the minimum wage, we're going to automate so we don't have to pay people. It's never simple, guys. Flip side is, we don't want people to starve because they can't afford to live, but businesses have to make a profit as well. We're going to hit that whole debate up. But we're starting off today with some current events. This has come out in the news in the last 24 hours. Amazon is starting a pilot program now, because Amazon owns Whole Foods and they own the Go stores, where you're no longer going to have to take a credit card to pay. You're going to be able to use your hand to pay at checkout. What do you guys think about this?
How would I do that?
So, for example, like all of us on our hands, take a look at your hands once for a second, guys. We all have unique series of lines on our hands. Our fingerprints are unique. The idea being, I could have my hand scanned tied to my Amazon Go account. So anytime I would go into a Go store, I have my groceries. Sensors have said, Tom can pick these things up. He's on his way out the door. Before I can leave, I put my hand on a scanner, which scans the unique pattern on my hand and bills it to my account when I leave. What are your thoughts, guys? Yes, sir.
People don't have hands.
That's true. If somebody doesn't have a hand, they can probably use a retinal scan or something, but you're absolutely correct. Some people it's not going to work for. Yes?
So they could probably do foot.
You could do your foot. Yeah, it's the same deal. Yes?
What if you don't have enough money on your account? Like they just see your hand and then they bill you after you already took the stuff.
Well, because it's required to be on a credit card.
Well, yeah, but like, if you put your hand, like they aren't going to be able to see how much is in your account until they bill you. And then by that time, you've already taken your.
Or is it immediate? Like
It's immediate because Amazon basically, once you go into a Go store, if you scan your hand, that's automatically tied to your account, whatever billing sources you have on your account, whether it's a credit card or bank account, they'll know immediately if you have money in your account or not, for sure. What do you guys think? How many of you would choose this as an option for pay? Ooh, nobody. So you would. It's pretty convenient, isn't it? I mean, the idea that you never have to carry your wallet, you never have to do anything but carry your hand. Yes, sir.
Nah, they're gonna cut your hand off.
Some places that might happen. Or somebody could basically, drag you in and put your hand on. Hopefully we got some security in there to deal with that. Yes, sir.
People are sick and coughing their hand and then put on the scanner.
That's a really good point, too. We're talking
They
about
probably gonna have like a hand sanitizer, like a hand sanitation thing, like before you put your hand on something like that, because you ain't gotta be careful.
Well, there's a lot of pros and cons to this.
There are a lot of pros and cons to this. Somebody who is not excited about this, can you tell me why? Yes.
I like touching money.
Tell me more about that.
I just like the feel of money. I don't even want to touch a screen.
I'm with you
I already
about the
touch
money.
my phone. I don't need to touch another touch screen.
Think about the whole thing with money too. Let's say, for example, we have $500 in our checking account, or we have $500 in cash. Which are we more likely to spend it with, cash or a swipe card?
Cash.
See, here's, and I respect your differences of opinion here. I know myself, if I have a $50 bill, I don't want to crack it, man.
Oh, yeah.
I want to keep that $50 in my wallet as long as I can. If I don't see the money, I don't think about it when I spend it. So I think a lot of the time some people get in trouble because when you swipe that card, you're not actually seeing the money. Like, you're seeing the money leave your wallet. You know exactly how much money you have. Somebody here, we're all using cards. We're not seeing that money leave our account. See what I'm talking about, guys? Thoughts? How many would not use this? Why not?
It just seems like a lot of information to give out. I don't know if I necessarily want a company to have my handprint. That's just me, though. Also, there have been times when my mom will want me to pick up something, so she can give me her card, but she can't give me her hand. This is easier to replace the card. How am I able to pick up groceries? My friend's like, hey, take my card, go pick up something. But how can I do that if it's on his hand?
She potentially could add you to her account. Yes, sir.
Can they use this for like criminal justice?
You think they probably could?
Yeah, like for example, right, so you commit a crime, right? And your DNA got on the scene. They're trying to find you. You leave in the store, you pay. Out of nowhere, all the doors is locked because now you caught.
It's serious, man, because we're talking about all this data being compiled on us. Is anybody, by show of hands here, because we're getting into a larger conversation, but by show of hands, are any of you concerned with how much information companies are holding about you? Yeah, I am too, guys, because exactly those kinds of things. How much do companies actually know about us? Does anybody else have another concern about this? Is there another privacy concern, or is there just a creep factor to it? What are your thoughts? Yes, sir. Yeah, well, it's funny how some of the folks, when I say this is not an endorsement of this perspective, but for example, there's something in the book of Revelations about how everybody must bear the mark of the beast to do commerce in the end days. And there are some folks who are saying this is the end of days because we're bearing the mark of the beast and Amazon is the devil. I don't know if I believe that. I will say that this is a new level kind of thing. Any other thoughts before we jump into that, guys? Guys, here's something else to consider, why this stuff is important. There was a news article that just came out. Check this out, guys. How many of you, by show of hands, regularly use Google Maps? I use Google Maps to find things 2 miles from my house some days. We have location services turned on in so many things on our phones. It's unbelievable. So our apps are actually tracking us. There's evidence that has come out now that, get this, guys, if you're in Times Square, your phone is actually communicating with the billboards that are around you. And if enough people have shown interest in a given product, it's changing the content on the billboards based on who's in proximity to them. That's the level of marketing we're talking about in 2020. That's why you need to be concerned with things like data and analytics. Is that a little creepy to anybody? Yeah, it does make you wonder how we're managing our data. All right, guys, we're going to jump in today because we're going to make up some territory today. We've been taking it easy and taking our time with content, and we're still going to be taking a break for questions. But guys, we left off talking about how businesses are set up, and obviously, businesses generally are set up to make money. We have products or services so that we can produce revenue and hopefully make a profit. There's an entire section of the economy that's called nonprofit. These are companies that are not designed to make money. They still handle money. For example, St. Francis University, we're a nonprofit. We don't make a profit at the end of the year, but we still have accountants. We still have billing professionals. We still have managers. We still have people who manage money because we have to pay for things, guys. Generally speaking, nonprofits are organizations with like philanthropy goals, betterment of society goals. Does anybody here, by show of hands, have any interest in a career in nonprofit? I love nonprofits. I love working for a nonprofit. Now here's the trick. Things that you can expect in a nonprofit, you might not make as much money as you'd make in a for-profit organization. Most of the time, people who work in nonprofits have similar skill sets to the for-profit world. They just prefer to do things for different reasons. For example, I love teaching. I love what I do for a living, and I take a lower wage to work in the educational environment than I would have if I were practicing in my field of discipline. I do it because I love it. And I think, it comes down to what your drive is. Bill Gates, the guy who owns Microsoft, at one point the richest man in the world, has made it his mission to give his money away. In the second part of his life, he's decided he wants to help do things like fight AIDS in Africa, build infrastructure for other countries. Bill Gates has decided he wants to make a difference in the world. I'm asking you to guess, how much does Bill Gates make a minute? If you go to pollev.com/KentTonkin063, I want you to take a guess, how much does Bill Gates make per minute? Is it $5,800, $10,500? $16,000, $23,000, or $31,000. Please go to that address and enter in your guess. So it's pollev.com/KentTonkin063. You can use your phone or your laptop to get there. So we're going to guess for $23,000. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of Microsoft operating systems. We got guesses all over the place here. Man, I'm easy. I'd even take the $5,800 per minute. That'd be an okay living for me. Let's see if everybody gets a chance to get in here, see what this guy is actually worth. Everybody have a chance to get in? Because if you guessed 23,000, you're absolutely correct. Bill Gates makes $11.5 billion a year just on Microsoft. That's what he's pulling down per hour. That's what he's pulling down per minute just because of how successful his company is. So this guy is making it his mission to give away his fortune. He spent the first part of his life making himself a billionaire, and he's spending the second part of his life with his wife Melinda giving away all his money. Pretty interesting guy. So again, nonprofits are companies that try to do good things in the world. If you are interested in a career in nonprofit, I'll gladly speak to you because that's where my heart and my passion is. Some people have a lot of passion for that stuff, and that's how they end up in education as well. These are some examples of nonprofits. We could add St. Francis University or most universities to that as well. These are companies whose goal are not to make big amounts of money, but to make the world a better place. So, guys, we left off talking about what entrepreneurs were all about. By show of hands again, I just want to know who you guys are. Who are my folks in here who want to own their own businesses? Yeah, I salute you, you entrepreneurs. The greatest part about being an entrepreneur is you're your own boss. The greatest part about being an entrepreneur is you can take an idea and run with it, make it yours. The greatest part of being an entrepreneur, like if you're Bill Gates, man, you can make a lot of money and keep it all yourself. Some of the downsides to being an entrepreneur, when you mess up, man, there's no company there to save you. The downside is you don't get a vacation. It's pretty common, guys, when people are starting companies for them to work 80-hour work weeks. Let me give you an example. Now, this is going to the back of the rack here a little bit. Do I have any classic rock and roll fans in here? People like rock and roll music. You ever hear the band Boston? The band Boston was one of the biggest rock and roll bands of the 70s and early 80s. I mean, these guys had gold records, selling a lot of music. The guy who ran Boston, the guitar player, his name was Tom Schultz. He was also an engineer. He's an electrical engineer. This guy would work an 8 to 10 hour shift every day. Then he would go home and write songs all night or play gigs. He basically didn't sleep for about 4 years, till his boss at the engineering firm said, look, you can either be a rock and roller or you can be an engineer. You can't be both. He had amassed enough fans and enough people to support him that he launched his own band and went on the road. That's what entrepreneurship sometimes looks like, guys. You've got to work, and sometimes not for very much. Entrepreneurs are the people who make important things happen in our economy. They come up with new ideas. They inspire us. Think about Bill Gates, man. Think about Steve Jobs and the iPhone. The other thing we're also going to be talking about throughout this class is the fact that our demographics are changing. If we look, for example, back in 1970, the percentage of women in the workplace, in terms of all women in the United States, was about 35%. Now we're up to about 47%. Roughly half of the workforce in the United States is female, and actually a disproportionate amount of females are executives. Here's one of the reasons we study this stuff, guys. For every dollar a man makes, ladies, I'd like you to answer this question for me. If we took all the women in the United States and all the men in the United States and compared their hourly wages, for every dollar a man makes, how much does a woman make? Yes? That's a really good guess. It's close. It's about 85 cents. And guys, we're working on it. If we go to millennials, the generation right before you guys, it's about 92 to 94 cents per dollar that a woman is making compared to a man. And in your lifetimes, I hope we see equality there. I think it makes sense that we have equal pay for equal earning. But that's something we're working on, guys. And by the way, guys, can I ask you a question on this as well? If we're looking at the modern workforce, what have been barriers to females getting better jobs in the workforce? What stood in the way? Yes?
Pregnancy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because what happens is a lot of companies, whether or not it's discriminatory, which it is, have basically tried not to hire females, and sometimes in managerial positions, because this person is going to have a baby and go out on pregnancy leave. It's illegal. You can't discriminate against somebody for that reason, but people do. There's also something we call the glass ceiling, which means we pretend to promote females and we really, in actuality, are keeping them at a certain level. So those are things we need to talk about. Guys, because we're talking about all the basics of business today, we're talking about the 5 factors of production. These are everything you need to have successful wealth built within an economy. Right now, we're in the United States, man. We are in a land of plenty. We talked about last time that we have large amounts of agriculture. We have lots of natural resources. We have lots of skills. And guys, please have something to write with. Take some notes here. You have some paper to take notes with? Please do. Guys, if you're not taking notes, please do, because I'm telling you the answers to the questions that will be on the test. Guys, in terms of the factors of production, these are the things that we need to make wealth. We have land or natural resources. We're lucky. In the United States, we've got tons of it. We got labor. We got people to do the job. Right now, guys, the unemployment rate in the United States, anybody know where it is? What's the unemployment rate right now? Any guesses? And that's the total percentage of people who are trying to find a job. Yes?
13.
It's actually way lower. It was 13 right around the time of the recession. That's a good guess.
7.
We'll keep on going lower. I need 5. Go down one more point. 4. Yeah, it's 4%. So if we have 4% unemployment right now, we got an expanding economy where companies are doing lots of business. Who has leverage right now in the market? The employee or the employer? Who has the power right now? Companies are trying to expand, and they're running out of people to hire. The employees have leverage. You guys are entering a fantastic economy where you're going to be able to basically negotiate and get better deals than people in my generation were. So we need labor. We need people to do this stuff. We need money. Guys, money is something that was flowing free in the 90s because we have venture capital, but people have to want to invest, for example, in a business. We need entrepreneurship. That means people are willing to take a risk, and we need knowledge. Guys, check this out. When I say we need knowledge, Steve Jobs, no matter how smart he was, and he was a brilliant man, could not build an iPhone by himself. He may have come up with the idea for it. He didn't write all the code. He didn't make the microprocessor. He didn't do the form factor. He didn't make the case for it. So we need knowledge across people who can come up with ways to make products. It's a very collaborative environment. So all these things together make the 5 factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and knowledge. You need all these things together. Just like, for example, I heard a couple of people in this class say last week when I was talking about favorite foods that macaroni and cheese was their favorite food. Raise your hand if macaroni and cheese is in your top 10. Mine too, man. And here's the trick. Why do 2 people make it so much differently? If we're using the same components, what's different from one person to the next? Well, it comes down to knowledge and entrepreneurship. We all have the same components, but we're making it differently. And that's one of the secrets of capitalism. If you're somebody who can come up with a unique and novel way to put this stuff together, you're going to come up with a product or service that people love. Here's where we're going to be getting into business environments. And guys, the stuff I'm about to cover is going to tie in directly to the assignment that's due on the 27th. I'm going to show you what I want from that assignment. But because I've been talking loud and fast, and it's 9:33, we are going to open it up for our first question or comment of the day. What question or comment would you like to ask or say? What would you like to ask? We need a question or comment, or I will have to randomly call on somebody. Sir.
How you drink your coffee?
Black with some sweetener in it. How do you drink your coffee?
Usually it's black.
Yeah? No sweetener or anything? Okay, well, how do you like your coffee? What are some of the brands you like?
I like Dunkin'. I don't like Starbucks. It's too strong.
So I like Starbucks Sumatra. My wife, when she likes me, will buy that and make that for me because she knows I love it. But I like Dunkin' too, Dunkin' Dark. So who else is a coffee drinker in here? All right, so only a couple of us. Wow. I highly recommend, if you're not a coffee drinker, you consider starting coffee. It's a good habit. It's more.
We young, we got natural energy.
I wish I had some of that natural energy. I unfortunately, man, my tank is more empty than full these days. I need to have my coffee. All right, guys. Well, we're going to jump in to these environments. So we're talking about the 5 environments that affect the way we do business in any given country. First of all, we've got the economic and legal environment. When I say economic, when I say economy, what am I talking about? What is an economy? Give me the stress. I want to randomly call on somebody. What's an economy? Gold star. That's a great answer. So all the money moving through a system in a country is our economy. It's the lifeblood of the country. So our economic and legal environment, what we're talking about here, in the United States, we've got a good economy right now. It's expanding. We're doing lots of business. So our economic environment is, we've got an expanding economy with lots of opportunity. Our legal environment is, and when I say this, guys, I support your opinion on whichever side you come down to. Our current administration and the government is trying to reduce regulations on business so businesses are more free to act. There's some people that like that. There's some people that have problems with it. But our economic and legal environment is pretty wide open right now. Our technological environment. Guys, if we looked at a map of the United States, actually let's say a map of the demographics of the United States, about 85% of the population, 85 to 90, depending on who you look at, has a smartphone. Guys, how has that affected the way we do business? Yes, sir.
Everything's quicker now.
Everything's quicker, man. You can get it when you want. Think about this. Has anybody ever ordered something on Uber Eats? Wait, if you don't mind me asking, sir, what did you order? What's the most recent thing you've gotten on Uber Eats? It comes right to your place, man. How awesome is that? Yeah, we're in an on-demand economy, and we can do this stuff because of technology. So think about that, guys. How else are smartphones affecting the way we do business? Yes, sir.
Now, you can favorite things. You can put in a code in your phone and it could directly pay to your credit card.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yes.
Is there more knowledge of things?
Tell me more about that. That's a great answer, too.
On the internet, you could you could learn more now because the internet, everything's on the internet.
You know, it's funny because I remember when I bought my last car, by the time I walked into the showroom, the dealer didn't need to tell me anything about that car. I knew everything about it. I knew how much his invoice was. I knew how much profit he was going to make if I paid this much for the car. I knew what a reasonable monthly payment was. Yeah, we're empowered consumers. And check this out, guys. If we're out shopping, like sometimes we still buy things in 3 dimensions, we can comparison shop while we're in the damn store. So it's changed everything in terms of the way we handle things. Competitive environment means with a particular business, how many competitors do you have? Let me, by show of hands here, how many of you have your favorite athletic brand as Nike? How many of you have your favorite athletic brand as Under Armour? How about Adidas? Okay, check it out, guys. We've got 3 major competitors here. So it's a tough competitive environment for sports apparel and for sneakers because a lot of companies are making really good stuff. The social environment means in a social setting, for example, am I selling a product in an era where people can't afford it? When the recession of 2008 hit, companies that were selling low-end items did really well. Who here has ever been in a Dollar General? Because they're everywhere. I think there's like a statute now, and every town in America has to have at least one Dollar General because they seem to like pop up in 2 seconds. Dollar General did great during the recession because they had low-cost stuff that everybody wanted. Who didn't do well in the recession of 2008 and 2009? Can you think of one company in particular that maybe the government had to bail out? Yes?
Remington.
Remington didn't do well. You're absolutely correct. Who else?
Yeah.
General Motors. General Motors went bankrupt because people couldn't afford new cars during the recession. So what is your social environment? And finally, what is your global business environment? If we're looking at a particular business, for example, are they beholden to other markets? If you are Apple and you have an iPhone, anybody remember I said on Friday that the batteries for our iPhones come from one specific continent. Where do they come from? They come from Africa. So if we got a problem with a trade conflict with Africa, we're not making smartphones. Where are iPhones generally made? You got it. Guys, in 2011, there was a tsunami that hit. Actually, it was 2011. A tsunami that hit Hawaii and that whole part of the Pacific. For several months, you could not get a Ford pickup in a specific shade of black because the mineral used for it came from that part of Japan. And God help you if you had a Subaru and needed parts. If they were coming from Japan, you weren't getting them because global supply chains were disrupted. That's how the global economic environment affects us. So let's apply this to a business, guys. Will somebody tell me a business that does a service? Like I'm thinking things like restaurants or stores. Tell me some place that you've been recently that you like. Food's always good, yes.
I want to back home to a car wash.
A car wash. That's a fantastic example. All right. So legal and economic environment. Is there a lot of regulation on car washes?
No.
Probably not. It's pretty simple. And in terms of the economic environment, is it expensive to get your car washed? What's it cost?
Like the most basic one?
Yeah.
$10.
$10. So that's probably something most people can afford. And I would think even if we had a bad economy, sometimes people want to keep their cars longer, right? So you're going to keep them looking good. So those would be examples of how the economic and legal environment would affect them. The technological environment, is it a self-service or is it a drive-through? What kind of car wash is it? Drive-through. And so basically all that stuff is automated. They got to upkeep it. The good part is you don't need somebody working. You just put in your card or your cash when you go in, right? Is somebody actually working there?
It was a lot of people working there. It was like you got up to the thing, you hand the person your money, they get in the car, they drive through.
Oh, okay.
You walk through, you get your receipt, you come back around, they park the car in the front, they shine the tires, do all that stuff.
So actually, we're talking about a manual process, something people are doing by hand. Okay, so the technological environment might not really be affecting them much because that's how car washes have worked since there have been car washes. That's okay too. If we get into the competitive environment, we're talking $10 car washes. There are other places cheaper where people could get their car cleaned. Yeah, automatic drive-thrus, for example. Then we get into the social environment, and that means, for example, if you get into a situation where people are struggling economically and they have to choose between groceries or getting their car washed, they're going to pick groceries. So depending on the socioeconomic environment you're in, and in terms of the global business environment, probably doesn't affect this business because it's a local business. Make sense, guys? Let's apply it to one more company. Somebody else pick a company that provides goods or services. That's a great example. I need an example from this side of the room. Because we're going to apply it. I'm helping you do your homework here, guys. If you name the company you're interested in doing, I'll help you do your homework. Yes, sir.
Would you say Dairy Queen?
Dairy Queen, great example. All right, so our economic and legal environment. In terms of the economic environment, what's a frosty, or what do they call them? Arctic squirrel, what do they call them? Blizzards. I'm trying to think. There's so many of them. I love ice cream. So ice cream is generally pretty cheap, and even when the economy is good or bad, people still want ice cream, right? We're either celebrating when it's good, or we're drowning our sorrows in carbohydrates when it's bad. So we're going to the economic and legal environment. It's a low-cost item we can afford most of the time. The legal environment. What affects restaurants, guys? How can restaurants get in trouble with the law? Yes, sir. You got it. So you got to keep a clean restaurant. So a positive is you've got regulation that says if you get your name published in the paper that you have a clean score, everybody loves you. If you get nailed for having a dirty restaurant, that goes against you. How about the technological environment? Does Dairy Queen do anything with an app at this point in time? Yeah, so they're leveraging the technological environment to speed up ordering. That's a positive. I can't really see a negative for them in this regard. Competitive environment. Who are Dairy Queen's competitors? If you're going out for a food, yes. Brewster's, definitely. Maybe Baskin-Robbins in some markets, for example. There are alternatives. Direct competitors in ice cream. Who else is the big comfort food right now? There's a brand that just changed its name. They shortened their name. They're selling sugary food that people eat for comfort. Absolutely, and that's a hot brand right now. So we have lots of alternatives. So you got a very competitive environment. Then we get into the social environment. Guys, in this day and age, we're emphasizing appearance and fitness and the idea of people getting their health together. And Dairy Queen may be facing an issue there because they sell high-calorie, sugary food. So that could be a positive or a negative. Positive is that people still like to go and socialize and have treats together. The negative is the health environment. The global business environment. Now, this is stretching a point here. We just opened up some more trade with Canada because we're going to be doing more trade with dairy. So that could indicate that we have some global business environment issues. Does Dairy Queen potentially also operate franchises outside of the United States? Yes, they do. And so we have global supply chains to manage as well. All this makes sense, guys? That's exactly what I'm asking you to do for our next assignment. I'm going to just show you how this stuff all fits together. This diagram is right out of our book, guys. Right now, we've got all these things that are fitting within the global business environment, whether or not you're talking economic and legal, whether you're talking tech, whether you're talking social, or whether you're talking competition. Different businesses have different amounts of competition. If you're Nike, you've got significant competition from those other brands. If you're Tesla, you don't have a lot of competition for electric cars. Not yet, but it's coming. And if you are Mac, or if you're Apple, your biggest competitor is Android, but people who want iPhones will always want iPhones. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Guys, that's what I'm asking you to do. When you do that assignment, by the way, and I'm not going to recap these because we covered this stuff, what I'm asking you to do is to come up with a company that provides a product or service, and I'm asking you in bullet points to tell me at least several positives and several negatives of each environment. What's good for that business in that environment? What is not so good? What could be challenging to them? So again, we talked about these areas. The differences in terms of the way we operate between countries, guys, if you operate in certain parts of the world, for example, the legal environments can be vastly different. India is a very bureaucratic culture. Anybody know what I mean by the word bureaucratic? What is bureaucratic? Anybody? It's one of those words that has meaning. Like if we say bureaucracy, it sounds great. It sounds like it's going to fall through the floor. It means things that slow people down. India's got a very bureaucratic government system where you need a permit for everything, guys. And so in the United States, we have a quicker process. A lot of these countries, if you're doing business internationally too, will also ask for things like bribes to get business done. Some of the countries that are repeatedly listed as being the most corrupt are places like Somalia and North Korea. North Korea, a place where you actually can get thrown in jail for having the wrong haircut. Did you guys know that, by the way? They actually have state-sanctioned hairstyles. You can go to jail for having the wrong haircut. And here's the other thing in North Korea. If you get convicted of a crime, they punish 3 generations. Have you guys heard about this? That means 3 generations. If I do something wrong, my father and my son could also go to jail with me. How about that, guys? So we're talking about very corrupt environments. Again, talking tech, because we're covering this stuff to make sure you're good with it. Think about how tech has transformed the way we do business. In particular, we're talking mobile phones, mobile apps, and e-commerce, guys. Everything we're doing these days online, buying stuff, is called e-commerce. And there's two general types. This is a good place for us to end, actually, for today. We got business to consumer and business to business. If we're talking about buying goods and services online, we've got business to consumer, and we've got business to business. Which is bigger? Which does more amounts of business? Any guesses? It is correct, because we're always buying large amounts of goods and services between companies. Guys, that's a good place for us to end. If you got here after I called roll, please come up so I can count you as here. And if today's your first day, give me a minute of your time. Have a good day, guys.